This was so gross, so upsetting to me. I have to talk about it. Now, I need to wait until the 2-minute mark has passed when on YouTube, because it is that gross and graphic that I cannot actually put it in the first 2 minutes.
This judge is going to be very, very competent in this, and he's going to apply the law, which requires a showing of malice, which I don't think she's going to be able to undo once Baldoni's opposition shows all the things.
Ryan Reynolds has spent years charming audiences with his razor-sharp wit, disarming grin, and lovable on-screen characters. Yet beneath that friendly, comedic persona, surprising allegations have surfaced. Allegations that reach far beyond harmless pranks and funny interviews. For ages, people have admired his romance with Blake Lively as one of Hollywood's fairytale unions. But recent rumors and legal drama suggest they might not be the flawless couple everyone believed. Whispers of questionable parenting decisions, legal intimidation tactics, and behind-the-scenes manipulation have left fans stunned. Could there really be a hidden side to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively that contradicts their bright, carefully curated image?
She's basically saying, well, them suing me is retaliatory because I made a sexual harassment. I mean, it's kind of absurd, implying that no one can defend themselves.
The problem for her is that, you know, we're all going to speculate how the New York Times got a copy of the Civil Rights Department complaint that, as you know, we talked about, should never have come out in the first place. That was weird.
For a long time, both Ryan and Blake seemed untouchable, epitomizing the perfect blend of humor, glamour, and philanthropic charm. But cracks began to show when reports surfaced that Blake Lively's own lawyer had abruptly walked away from a major lawsuit she'd launched. According to insiders, this wasn't a run-of-the-mill departure. It was allegedly prompted by deep ethical concerns and a growing sense that Blake was veering into aggressive, even dubious legal territory. While celebrity disputes aren't uncommon, the sheer scale of tension here was unusual. Observers say Blake's demands were so unyielding that her legal team could no longer keep up. The lawyer's resignation, it turns out, might have opened the door to revelations no one saw coming.
This judge is going to be very, very competent in this, and he's going to apply the law, which requires a showing of malice, which I don't think she's going to be able to undo once Baldoni's opposition shows all the things.
Although the lawsuit itself had begun with standard back-and-forth claims, gossip quickly escalated that Blake was pushing to obliterate her opposing party, actor and producer Justin Baldoni, by any means necessary. Some described it as a win-at-all-costs mentality, complete with attempts to influence media outlets in her favor. To make matters more concerning, it wasn't just Blake who was under scrutiny. Ryan Reynolds, typically the comedic relief in interviews, found himself implicated by association, with hints that he too had employed questionable strategies to protect their joint brand.
What Ryan Reynolds forced his daughter to do on Deadpool is one of the most abhorrent things I have ever heard of.
Then came the bombshell that had social media in an uproar. Allegations over how Ryan handled his daughter's involvement on the set of Deadpool. Many fans took Ryan's sarcastic sense of humor for granted, assuming any edgy jokes wouldn't actually cross the line into harming a child. But rumors painted a different picture, that Ryan allowed and possibly encouraged his daughter to recite explicit lines or appear around adult content that no child should be exposed to. Initially dismissed by some as sensationalized tattle, these accusations grew more disturbing as potential witness accounts surfaced. The notion that Reynolds would knowingly let his child dive into comedic bits, referencing very explicit themes, left parents and critics shaking their heads.
If you don't know, she played Kid Pool in Deadpool. She was 7 years old at the time. Now, I'll show you, this is one thing he said about her. Only co-star I argued with. Most people think Kid Pool is the dirtiest.
Observers began to ask how the usually child-friendly Disney empire, now heavily intertwined with Marvel properties, fit into all this. Deadpool has always been a wild card in the superhero realm, a fourth-wall shattering comedy soaked in R-rated humor. But Disney and Marvel officially took ownership of the franchise, giving it a mainstream platform under a supposedly family-oriented umbrella. Did no one at the studio question or notice the involvement of a minor in such adult-themed content? Or were they too focused on the movie's box office momentum to blow the whistle? Either possibility is troubling, especially for fans who equate Disney with wholesome values.
It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process.
Around the same time, more details about Blake Lively's alleged manipulations emerged. Anonymous sources claimed that prior to significant court dates, she fed stories to popular publications, influencing public opinion before judges or the public could review the actual evidence. One example, a major newspaper unexpectedly published a scathing article about Justin Baldoni that seemed oddly timed, released almost immediately after Blake filed certain legal motions. Was it a coincidence, or had Blake's PR machinery orchestrated the coverage? This behavior, if true, shows the lengths to which some celebrities might go to control the narrative, revealing a strategy that thrives on tilting the scales of public sentiment. Yet the legal friction wasn't limited to planted stories or character attacks. Whispers circulated that Blake had demanded near impossible legal tactics from her attorney, such as burying Baldoni in so many filings that he'd be forced to settle out of exhaustion. She reportedly insisted that the lawyer undermined Baldoni's credibility with repeated references to ethical violations or hidden misconduct, even when the evidence itself wasn't there. When that attorney could no longer proceed ethically, the abrupt resignation sparked alarm among other legal professionals who realized the case had degenerated into a spiral of mudslinging and questionable demands.
She was trying to use the legal system inappropriately.
Federal court's no joke, right? Compared to the state court, federal court, way tougher. She's basically saying, well, them suing me is retaliatory because I made a sexual harassment. I mean, it's kind of absurd, implying that no one can defend themselves.
The problem for her is that, we're all going to speculate how the New York Times got a copy of the Civil Rights Department complaint that, as you know, we talked about, should never have been come out in the first place. That was weird.
Meanwhile, the real trouble for Ryan Reynolds was only beginning. Multiple clips circulated online showing him joking about explicit content, sometimes at his own family's expense, which people had previously laughed off as his trademark irreverence. But with the new focus on his daughter's alleged involvement in adult jokes or scenes, these older clips took on a darker tone. Could this be part of a larger pattern of insensitivity? While fans once adored Reynolds for his boundary-pushing humor, they started to ask whether certain jokes he made, particularly about or around his child, should have been a red flag all along. There's also a broader story here about Hollywood's enduring culture of complicity. For decades, major studios and powerful celebrities have been accused of silencing insiders or brushing scandal under the carpet, prioritizing profit over principle. Whenever a big star is implicated in something messy, the industry often rallies behind them, aiming to minimize damage and preserve lucrative partnerships. In the case of Lively and Reynolds, many suspect that the golden couple label might have shielded them from scrutiny for a surprisingly long time. Perhaps producers and fellow actors stayed silent, relying on NDAs or fear of blacklisting to prevent any real pushback, until one too many secrets spilled out. Social media, however, can't be controlled as easily. Independent blogs, YouTube channels, and upstart journalists have kept the story alive, poking at every new leak or contradictory interview. Traditional outlets sometimes sit on their hands, wary of losing access to top-tier celebrities, but smaller voices face no such constraint. They've dug into potential text messages, gathered eyewitness accounts, and unearthed older interviews that contradict the couple's current narrative. In a media climate where clicks are currency, these scrappy investigators have found a hungry audience, fueling a cycle of ever-growing controversy. Adding another puzzle piece, the highly public lawsuits swirling around Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Inside courtrooms, conflicting versions of events are colliding. Some say Blake's initial claims are being undermined by real evidence pointing the finger back at her. Others accuse Baldoni of shaping his own media campaign to fight the avalanche of negative press from Blake's side. And in the background, Ryan Reynolds occasionally enters the fray with snarky asides that critics argue only intensify the spectacle. What stands out is the sense that these legal moves aren't just about winning a lawsuit, they're about securing or destroying a public persona. Lively and Reynolds built their careers on warmth, humor, and relatability. If those pillars fall, can their stardom survive a total image? There's a sense that a reckoning is coming, not just for Lively and Reynolds, but for Hollywood at large. The situation reignites old debates about how child actors are treated, how adult themes can cross boundaries when kids get involved, and whether NDAs have been misused to silence critics. While big names can usually rely on teams of PR experts and a supportive network of studio allies, times are changing. Social media throngs want transparency, and hush orders can now be undone by one well-timed leak or incriminating screenshot. Also looming is the question of the couple's children. How does all this public drama, especially involving allegations of questionable on-set material, affect them psychologically? Celebrity kids often grow up in the spotlight, but rarely are they dragged into controversies where moral lines blur so explicitly. If future depositions reveal more about what happened on the Deadpool set, critics say it could cement an image of the couple as manipulative, self-serving parents, or it might absolve them if evidence shows the rumors got twisted. Either way, the stress is immense, and that's not to mention the potential professional fallout from losing allies in the legal community. If Blake's fiery demands truly drove her attorney away in protest, other top-tier legal minds may see the couple as risky clients who escalate friction rather than manage it. Indeed, any lawyer stepping into the lively Reynolds sphere will wonder if they're signing up for a publicity circus that could tarnish their own reputation. Multiply that by the fact that Disney, Marvel, and other powerhouses might be forced to distance themselves if the allegations become unstoppable. It's a precarious position, one that might encourage Lively and Reynolds to quietly settle or disclaim, hoping to limit long-term damage. At its core, the swirling controversy reveals a deeper truth: that the perfect Hollywood couple image can crumble if it's built on a shaky foundation. It's not just about comedic lines or a single lawsuit. It's about a pattern of possible manipulations, from PR campaigns to hush-hush legal strategies, all designed to protect carefully polished reputations. Viewers who once admired the duo might now feel duped, questioning how many of their public stunts were genuine and how many were orchestrated illusions. The heartbreak for fans and the concern for Hollywood watchdogs is that so many power players seem complicit, turning a blind eye until the story grew too large to ignore. In a rapidly changing celebrity landscape, Lively and Reynolds are learning that you can't outrun every rumor, especially if some pieces of the puzzle appear all too real. Though they may remain beloved by certain loyalists, they now face an uphill battle in re-establishing trust, both with the industry and the fan base that once championed them unconditionally. The saga stands as a cautionary tale that even the most charismatic stars can fall under the weight of their own controversies, and that behind the laughter and glamour, something far more unsettling might lie in the shadows.